Dating, courting, falling in love, holding hands, meeting each other's emotional support networks. Zooey mama, things some of us choose to do, right? However, let me throw a spanner into the works. If somebody happens to identify as male and they are tattooed, they're alternative, they're metal, they're hardcore, they're punk, and they happen to date somebody who is not alternative and, dare I say it, a woman. Gosh, no, heavens, something bad is happening here. Why is the alt man dating a non-alt woman? People are theorizing it's because they want the basic girl they can mold to be whatever they want. People also theorize the alt look is ultra masculine and therefore they need the ultra feminine look to counteract them. There are a whole bunch of theories on TikTok as to why alt men supposedly typically date only non-alternative women. And unfortunately, Johnny has unintentionally found himself in this conversation. People just looked at Johnny and they're like, tattooed. And then they looked at his partner, Grace, and they're like, not tattooed. Boo hiss boo, Johnny, you're fulfilling this trope as well. But is this also because love is more complex than how one looks? I wonder. Golly gosh, do we have a fun, exciting conversation ahead of us today? Hooray! And if you're new here, hello, my name is Cal, and on this channel we do videos talking about things we see on the internet, and then we will discuss it as a community down in the comment section below. Yes, that's what we do. I am literal. So if that does sound like fun for you, please feel free to subscribe and join this community. We're always trying to beat this ratio, yoo-hoo. And if you're not new here, hello again, friend. I've just drunk 2 pints of chocolate milk and 4 wraps, so I am so ready to deconstruct this argument that alt guys only date non-alternative women, because I'm a firm believer in love is just not skin deep. Yeah, I say we discuss this conversation head on, and I just show you one of the TikToks I saw getting shared around a lot.
The only thing that they want from that.
Okay, so this person's talking about how a lot of like alt guys don't go for alt girls and they go instead for like the typical hyper feminine types who are not interested in the same stuff as them. And feminist analysis could explain why. So a lot of like these alternative subcultures for men were a way to reclaim masculinity as a result of deindustrialization. I'm talking specifically about metal here. And therefore, a lot of the caricatures were of this exaggerated form of masculinity. So that might be a reason why they were attracted to it, because it's this aggressive form of masculinity. So the kinds of women that they might be attracted to would reaffirm that, and that won't be women who not perform masculinity or like perform their subculture in a similar way, which might be coded as masculine, but it'll be women who are really, really feminine and dainty and all that kind of thing, and that reaffirms it and makes them feel more manly and, you know? And as well, they can mansplain shit to them because they're not in common, they don't have the same things in common with them, as opposed to alt women.
So let's unpack this argument, shall we? Some people are arguing that alternative men like metalheads, think man in big battle jacket with tattoos and piercings, rock and roll, grrr, is seen as hypermasculine. And I think there is a lot of truth in what this content creator is saying. And I do not deny for 1 second that some people will fall into this truth. There'll be some men out there who do hypermasculine things to feel masculine, and therefore they'll want a partner that perfectly mirrors that in feminine form. I don't deny that that is a possibility. However, this is not a conversation of absolutes. There is nuance to this, as this one argument relies very heavily on traditional gender stereotypes, implying that being a metalhead, having tattoos and piercings, is somehow inherently masculine, while a lack of them makes one feminine. And I feel this idea reinforces the binary view of masculinity and femininity. And I feel that just does not apply to everyone, especially in alternative communities that are very known for challenging societal norms. And I don't think Johnny would mind me saying this for a second. He is clearly not someone that's trying to be like, I'm a hyper masculine bro. I'm the same as well. I am not like, grrr, rah. Now I know we do not speak for all alternative men, of course not, but I'm just trying to show there's nuance to this conversation. And if you're suddenly thinking, hold up, Cal, are you just making this video because you only date normies? You don't date alternative women? No, actually, the last 2 serious relationships I've had have been with alternative women who are far more alternative than me. And how do I know they were more alternative than me? Well, their faces and necks were tattooed, and that is a big, big commitment. I hope to be on that level one day too. I'm just a firm believer that love is not skin deep, and whilst I acknowledge some may fall into these tropes for these reasons, I don't think we should weigh in on Johnny's relationship. I feel that's kind of odd, being like, he's doing the trope too. So I'm here to just show there's nuance to this conversation, right? And if we're being very real about relationships, long-term things are not just flings or one nights of passion or whatever. The assumption that alt men seek hyper-feminine partners really does just overlook the individuality of each person's preferences. Now, I'm not saying looks don't have any influence in relationships. If someone looks a certain way, it may catch your eye and you may talk to them, but people don't necessarily choose a partner based on fitting into these rigid concepts of masculinity and femininity. Typically in a long-term partner, you often prioritize things like personality traits, shared values, and the big one, emotional compatibility. Zooey mama, sign me up. When they just get me and I don't feel so alienated from the world when I get along with someone, I love hypercompatibility. Yippee! I love love. And someone may be like the alternative Emperor 6000. You may look at them from across the social setting and be like, we were Zoe Mama. Let's add them on LinkedIn. They're a whole pot of me. That's something I want to court. And then you talk to them and you just may disagree on everything, or you have different senses of humor. And then you see this other person come up to you who perhaps, you didn't notice straight away because they weren't like this demons 6000. But then you click on everything. Boom. Zooey mama, flash forward 20,000 years, you're in love. And isn't that nice? Yeah, I've always liked alternative spaces personally because at its core, it's often rejected mainstream. As a person that has always felt, for some reason, just incredibly outcasted, I don't know if that's through my own constraints and stuff, I always found far more comfort in alternative spaces. I like them because they reject stereotypes and expectations. I feel less pressured to be like a man's man. So suggesting that the reason why alt men must not be dating alt women is because they need a partner that balances out their hyper masculine appearance. So they need that hyper feminine, non-alternative, clean slate. Kind of goes against the very spirit of alternative culture, which just celebrates individual expressions and breaking free of societal norms. And once again, I do not deny that some will want this hyper feminine partner because they're a big, scary metalhead 9000. I don't deny that, but these conversations aren't as simple as that, and you can't just apply this logic to every relationship you see that is an alt man dating a non-alternative woman. Is not fair, because love and attraction and the reason people are together is far more complex. And you have tattoos and you have tattoos, therefore you must be a good match. That would be my nightmare. If someone was like, Cal, you need to meet my friend, they've also got tattoos. Actually, no, that has happened to me before. And I was like, no, I'm sure they're a lovely person, but you can't base our compatibility on the fact that we both chose to get stabbed with ink and needles now. That wouldn't be silly, haha, that'd be silly weird. This is another TikTok that explores the reasons why an alternative man may not date an alternative woman.
The reason why alternative men don't like alternative women, and these are just based on my experiences alone with dating them, is that you're taking away their spotlight. A lot of alternative men I've dated, they are pretty boys and they are obsessed with themselves, and they have to be the cool one in the relationship. They have to be the ones that like the cool music, the cool movies, and be all into the underground things that nobody knows about. You can't be that person in the relationship because you are taking away their spotlight, and they don't like that. So of course you're gonna see them going with the girl next door type, the girl who's conventionally attractive, someone you could bring home to mom and have a family with because they're safe.
There's this concept that the alternative man wouldn't want to date the alternative woman because it'd shift the spotlight away from them. It would fry out their individuality complex. I'm no longer different. What do you mean I'm not the only person with a jaguar tattoo and a spider and a moth? And that's not me having a go at those tattoos. I think they're all lovely. I just know they're very popular right now. I can make fun of my own tattoos. He's got a rose. He's got birds. Bro went to one art museum and said, yeah, I'm just gonna get Caravaggio tattoos on me. Wow, yeah, see, look, all my tattoos are very generic as well. I'm okay with that. But the content creator presents this view that the relationship is suddenly competitive when it's two alternative people together. I'm gonna call this competitive dating. I want to get a gold medal in competitive dating. Grr. Nobody's beating me at dating. But yeah, no, imagine courting someone, but them being your direct competition of who knows the most underground bands, who's more active in the subspaces. Spaces, that sounds stressful. And whilst I genuinely don't doubt this will be true for some, I generally think some people do want to be seen as the quirky, different one in the relationship. I don't doubt that ever happens, but I don't think that's limited to gender. I think that personality trait is something that can occur in anybody. I find it to be a generalized claim that just does not apply universally. Again, I don't think any of these content creators I mentioned are talking in absolutes. I think they're probably just talking on their experiences and therefore their logical conclusions on why alternative men may not want to date alternative women. And I think there's validity in both of the arguments I've shown from both content creators. Those are valid reasons for why it may occur, but they are not absolutes. This conversation is nuanced, and we should always remember that. And basically what I mean by that is stop commenting about Johnny dating a non-alternative woman. It's super weird. Also within this conversation, I think it's important to note about self-expression versus like relationships dynamics. The notion that all alternative men date basic partners to preserve their own image kind of just undermines the authenticity of their self-expression. Surely you choosing to customize your avatar with ink isn't done for the validation of others, right? You'd hope it's done for yourself because you wanted to customize your avatar, not because you're trying to win at combative dating or get likes and clicks on the internet. Surely that's not why people are getting tattoos, right? If someone's coolness genuinely relies on being the only alternative person in the relationship, then logically must raise the question, are they truly invested in being alternative? Or was it just a phase and now they've got a full body of tattoos and oh golly, it always makes me really sad when I see those TikToks being like, I regret my tattoos. I got them when I was young and I realized it wasn't me. That's a tough gig. How I see tattoos, so I'll never be in that boat, is they're just a celebration of that part of my life when I wanted something like that. These tattoos here are a shout out to like 20-year-old Cowder's life. These tattoos right here are a shout out to like 25-year-old, 26-year-old Cowder's life. Tattoo on my back, shout out to present day Cowder's life. Another really interesting thing this content creator points out for their theories on why alternative men may gravitate towards non-alternative women is conservatism in the alt scene.
A lot of alternative men still have a lot of conservative values. And they're gonna go for that, you know, the basic, conventionally attractive girl who has more of those values. Because I grew up during like the emo era, and all those emo boys, they were all church boys, and they were all extremely conservative. So of course they're not gonna go with someone who looks like me. You know, they're gonna go with the cute, sweet, little, basic, girl next door type.
Unfortunately, we all know by now that conservatives in alternative spaces is a very real problem. I did a video on it. The creator argues that some alternative men carry conservative ideologies. And again, from what I'm seeing on TikTok, I do not doubt that is a very real possibility. Therefore, they will date the basic person because they will not challenge their ideologies. They will not challenge that conservative metalhead's beliefs. I don't know why I'm doing that in this video today. Sorry. But what this does raise a point about and like taps into the conversation of is the wider critique of certain members of alternative communities. People who seemingly adopt the rebellious aesthetic, some of this, that like kind of hurts my wrists. They're adopting this alternative aesthetic without actually embracing the values of alternative culture. Alternative cultures and subgroups often stand against mainstream norms. So the idea of conservative alt can feel contradictory. Being alternative for some, and by that I guess I mean having tattoos, listening to rock music, and all that sort of stuff, is purely just an aesthetic choice. for some, not a political or social statement. And this, of course, just leads to a real disconnect between the visual and ideological aspects of a culture. The concept of like this non-challenging partner as a preference. Somebody that's not going to challenge my conservative ideologies because they're basic, because they're normie. As the creator says, choosing that girl next door type to avoid ideological clashes. Actually, I find highlights a more complex issue. Some people may consciously or unconsciously avoid partners or potential partners who will question their beliefs. And that is a valid argument for why some people may date other people you wouldn't associate them with because they don't actually want to be challenged on anything. There's validity to that, and there's a real conversation there to be had. However, it is very important to note that this argument could reflect more about someone's insecurities or biases they may have. Now that I've shared a couple TikToks theorizing why alternative men may not date alternative women, I myself want to present a couple of points for why alternative people in general may not have an alternative partner. Talking point 1. The superficiality of judging relationships based on their aesthetic. Some put forward a seemingly logical question of, if you are in the alternative spaces, you would perhaps naturally gravitate towards someone that was also alternative. However, this perspective is so deep-rooted in the assumption that relationships should be based off aesthetics. If I'm gonna get real with you right now, you're like, bro, wait, okay, what does Cal know about love? I'm gonna put on my relationship counselor hat and say to you, team, love goes beyond looks.
Let him cook now.
It does.
Let him cook.
It does go beyond looks, okay? Yeah, it's pretty scary to say, but it does. Relationships aren't about finding somebody who looks like you. They're about finding compatibility, support, and connection. Somebody that's gonna paint Warhammer with you, go see the FNAF films, go ride pedalos, go to museums, have a good time. Judging a couple based solely on how they look and then making assumptions of why they're together totally dismisses and overlooks the deeper meanings of why two people choose to coexist together. Also, just like the big one, team, this is your avatar. You woke up in this carbon-based life form. You can do whatever you want with it. Get whatever piercing setup you want. Do your thing. Go crazy. This is literally for you, and you should always remember that if you're choosing to customize your avatar, you are doing it for you and yourself solely, not for others. Otherwise, you'll end up big sad and harbor feelings of sadness because you're like, but I became the thing you wanted me to become and you still don't want me? Gah! No, you do all of these things for yourself, and that's cool. Become the person you think is cool and awesome, right? This is not peacocking to find a partner. So then to apply the logic that alt man must date alt woman just reduces the beauty and capability that we all have to customize our avatar, for individuality, to only doing these things for superficial matchmaking. And boo his boo, we don't like that. That's boring. Change the record. Okay. Also, these sorts of behaviors of trying to name and shame specific people on the internet for being like, why is your partner not alternative? Encourages weird stereotypes. Alternative culture at its core rejects and fights mainstream stereotypes. It seems then contradictory to impose a matching aesthetic expectation within alternative spaces. Whatever you decide to customize your avatar with, you should be able to date freely and not expect some sort of assumption that you have to date a certain look. That's silly, just weird, really. Also, another talking point I'd like to discuss is just the practical constraints of appearance. Many people may not be able to customize their avatar and get all the piercings and tattoos as they want due to work policies. Johnny's partner is a literal actor, and isn't Pete Davidson currently removing all of his tattoos so he can pursue acting more because he doesn't want to get up 3 hours before filming to get all of his tattoos removed with makeup. So he's going through the process of getting all of his tattoos removed so he can act. And another one may be alternative leaning people, with how they present, may have to tone it down for their job to fit in for their professional environment. And I know there's a whole conversation you can have about, well, they shouldn't have to do that, Cal. Yeah, I totally agree with you, but that is also not the reality these people are existing in. You can't judge someone as being less alternative than you or whatever just because of how they look. There'll be a whole host of reasons for why they may have to present more mainstream than you. You big silly goof, stop being skin deep with love. I don't like it. Another one literally could just be like social and like family pressures. Not everybody has the luxury and freedom to express themselves however they want due to family expectations and maybe the current social chambers they have to operate within. You know, e.g. school. I don't know if it still is the case, but being alternative back in the day, well, that was a tough gig at school. But this doesn't mean that that person is any less alternative or any less valid in the alternative communities than you. What it does mean is that outward appearance does not tell their whole story. Famously, there's been punk bands that don't dress stereotypically punk at all, but boy, were they punk. Golly gosh, we need to stop being so superficial with this conversation. Aesthetics doesn't and never will equal authenticity. Looking alt, as we mentioned earlier, there's now conservative alts. So looking alt isn't the bit anymore. It's about values and beliefs. That's what makes a person who they are, not how they choose to present superficially. It can be a good indicator, but it's not a definite. And that's important. A person can resonate with alternative cultures without visibly expressing them. And therefore, it is unfair to judge the compatibility of a relationship purely based on appearance. Let's conclude, team. The conclusion. Love beyond labels. Oh, I'm gonna hit it home so hard with this one. This is gonna sound like such a empowering speech, I hope.
Let him cook.
Or just some sort of weird PR statement. I don't know, but I'm going to talk it out and then I'll see how it looks in the edit. The idea that alt men should date alt women purely based on their appearance is a reductive view of relationships. People's choices and bases for what they want and need in a partner is not just often, but it literally hits far more than just how you look. It's those meaningful connections, those lovely little moments where you just feel so human and so seen with someone else, and that person gets you better than any other human on the planet. In those moments, those incredible moments that you take to the grave with you, you're not thinking about, oh, but do they have enough alternative points? No, you love them for their soul. Their genuine existence brings you joy. True alternative culture is about authenticity, individuality. It sounds like I'm doing a PR speech, but we're gonna keep going because I love love. Breaking free of societal norms. So it's so contradictory and weird to impose conformity within it. What do you mean you're not dating the alternative Queen 6200? I thought you were the alternative Goth Lord King 900. What do you mean you're dating Deborah from HR, who's never been to a DIY gig? I don't care if she gets you and she loves you and she makes you feel seen and heard and she's the first time in your life that you felt validated as a human. He doesn't have a Jaguar tattoo and a moth on her throat. That's like alternative judgmental laser beams coming out my hand. Bro, date Barbara from HR if she gets you. I'm so here for it. I'll come to the wedding. I won't do a speech. I hate public speaking. I would panic. Team, what am I trying to say here? Love is personal and complex. By moving beyond these shallow expectations, alternative culture can truly honor, oh, this is so PR coded, but here we go. It can truly honor the values it claims to stand for. We're going home run with this just absolutely overdone, probably vaguely cringe at this point conclusion, but I'm so here for it because love, L-O-V-E, love, I was really scared I spelled it wrong there, individuality, self-expression, oh this is awful, and freedom to love without limits. Oh team, I love love. I want all of that love. I don't care what my partner looks like. My partner is alternative though, so but love is great. I hope you find love if that's something you want. I hope everybody gets to experience love if that's something they want. You don't have to subscribe to it if you don't want to, and that's totally valid also. And while I acknowledge that the people whose TikToks I did show today have very valid arguments for why some may date like this, I felt this video needed to happen because people were just started calling out Johnny and such, and I thought that was so weird to think you can know somebody's relationship that well, this very personal thing. Yeah, let's discuss it in the comment sections. What are your thoughts on this? Oh, that was funny. That was a funny, silly ending. And now, team, it's time. If I was to say to you, do you know what Pokemon I'm talking about? Yes, of course you do. Reggie Gigas and Reggie Ice. Yo, Cal, where's Reggie Steel at? I don't have them. I'm sorry. I got these two, though. I got a pocket full of sunshine. I got a love and I know that it's all mine. Oh, Well, if I had Reggie Steele from this set, I would be very happy, but I don't. Okay, I don't. I can't be that guy for you. I'm sorry. I don't even have Reggie Gigas from this set. One of my favorite things about Halloween this year was seeing people dress up as Reggie Rock for Halloween, and I really like that. Reggie Rock with handbag and Reggie Steele. If I can find them again, I'll send the TikToks on screen. I don't really have a good story about these two cards. I just packed them years and years ago when I was a younger man, in my younger years. Full of glee and love and hope, but I do love them. I really like the noises Reggie Rock, Reggie Steele, Reggie Gigas, all the Reggies make. It kind of has the same effect on my brain as hyperpop. It makes my brain just go like doo 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 doo, and I feel whole, and I feel like the most human I possibly can do when I listen to hyperpop. I feel less painfully aware of everything. I like it. It kind of like numbs my brain out a little, just tones it down a little bit, turns it down. And that's why I like Reggies. If I was a Pokemon trainer, I would befriend all of the Reggies, and I'd hope they'd let me hang out with them. Anyways, I've been your boy Cowder's Life. I'm probably gonna go listen to sensory ASMR noises of Reggies now. And I'll probably see you in the next video, I hope. If you're new around here, that cool, sweet. I'm your boy Cow. Skog's there, cooking up some SoundCloud beats. We'll see you in the next video, and in the comment section, let's get discussing. This feels like... I feel like a presenter on a show just saying corny things at this point. Anyways, bye. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. Why is the camera not going small? Why is my outro not working? Bye. Oh no. Bye.